Brother's ex stole 20K and wanted to move in. We refused and she tried to destroy our lives. Then we learned the shocking truth about her. I'm Robin, 30F, and I live with my husband Nate, 32M. We've been married for 5 years and have a pretty good life together. We both work in tech. I'm a project manager and Nate's a software developer. We bought our house 2 years ago and have been slowly renovating it. My younger brother Thomas, 26M, has always been close to us. Growing up, we were each other's best friends. Our parents worked long hours, so I often took care of Thomas after school. This created a strong bond between us that has lasted into adulthood. Thomas works as a high school teacher and loves his job, even though it doesn't pay much. About 2 years ago, Thomas started dating Deborah, 24F. They met at a local coffee shop where Deborah worked as a barista. Thomas was immediately smitten and would visit the coffee shop every day just to see her. After a few weeks, he finally asked her out. At first, everything seemed great. Deborah was friendly, outgoing, and seemed to fit right in with our family. She had a great sense of humor and could always make Thomas laugh. Nate and I were happy that Thomas had found someone he connected with. We often had double dates, and Deborah would join us for family dinners. As time went on, we started noticing some red flags with Deborah. She would often make snide comments about Thomas's career choices, pushing him to pursue a higher-paying job even though he was happy where he was. She'd say things like, "Don't you want to provide a better life for us?" Or, "Teaching is fine for now, but you need a real career eventually." Deborah also had a habit of borrowing money from Thomas and never paying it back. It started small, $20 here, $50 there, but over time the amounts got larger. Thomas would brush it off, saying she was just going through a tough time financially. About 6 months into their relationship, Thomas confided in me that Deborah had a gambling problem. He discovered it when he found multiple betting apps on her phone and saw large transactions on their shared bank statement. Deborah had tearfully confessed to him and promised to get help. Thomas asked me not to tell anyone else in the family, and I respected his wishes. I did express my concerns to Thomas, but he assured me that things were getting better. Over the next year and a half, Thomas and Deborah's relationship seemed to have ups and downs. There were times when everything appeared great. They'd talk about moving in together and even mentioned marriage. But there were also periods when Thomas seemed stressed and withdrawn. Whenever I asked, he'd say everything was fine, but I could tell something was off. Last month, Thomas called me in tears. He told me that Deborah had emptied their joint savings account, which had over $20,000 in it. This money was meant for a down payment on a house they were planning to buy. Thomas had been saving for years, even before meeting Deborah, and she had contributed very little to the account. Thomas was devastated. He explained that Deborah had relapsed into gambling and had been hiding it from him for months. She'd maxed out multiple credit cards in Thomas's name and had even pawned some of his belongings. When he confronted her, she broke down and admitted everything. This was the last straw for Thomas. He finally decided to end the relationship. He felt betrayed and angry, but also guilty for not seeing the signs earlier. I tried to console him, reminding him that Deborah's actions weren't his fault. Deborah didn't take the breakup well. She started showing up at Thomas's workplace, sending him hundreds of text messages, and even tried to contact our parents to get them to convince Thomas to take her back. She'd alternate between begging for forgiveness and lashing out with angry accusations. Thomas was stressed and didn't know what to do. Yesterday, I got a call from Deborah. She was crying and told me that she had nowhere to go. Apparently, she had been evicted from her apartment due to unpaid rent. She begged me to let her stay with Nate and me for a while until she could get back on her feet. I was torn. On one hand, I felt bad for Deborah. Despite her issues, I knew she was going through a tough time. We had shared some good moments over the past 2 years, and part of me still saw her as the fun, friendly girl who had made my brother so happy at the beginning. On the other hand, I didn't want to betray Thomas's trust or get involved in this messy situation. I also worried about the potential impact on my own household if we let Deborah stay with us. After talking it over with Nate, we decided not to let Deborah stay with us. We felt it would be disrespectful to Thomas and could potentially cause more problems. Nate pointed out that given Deborah's history, we couldn't trust her in our home. What if she stole from us or brought her gambling issues into our lives? When I called Deborah back to tell her our decision, she got angry. She accused me of taking Thomas's side and not caring about her well-being. She said things like, "I thought we were friends," and "I can't believe you'd let me be homeless." She threatened to tell everyone about how cruel we were being. I stood my ground and told Deborah that while I sympathized with her situation, it wasn't our responsibility to house her. I suggested some local shelters and resources she could look into for help. I also reminded her that her actions had consequences, and she needed to take responsibility for her choices. After the call, I felt drained. I texted Thomas to let him know about Deborah's call and our decision. He was grateful and said we'd made the right choice, but I could tell he was still conflicted about the whole situation. Now, Deborah has been posting on social media about how my family abandoned her in her time of need. She's painting herself as the victim, saying things like, "I made some mistakes, but I never thought the people I considered family would turn their backs on me." Some mutual friends have reached out, asking why we're being so heartless. They only know Deborah's side of the story and think we're being unnecessarily cruel. Even my parents called, wondering if we should reconsider and help Deborah out. They don't know about the gambling or the stolen money. Thomas hasn't told them the full story yet. They remember Deborah as the sweet girl who used to bring them baked goods and help with yard work. It's hard to explain our decision without revealing Thomas's private business. I feel conflicted. Am I the asshole for refusing to let Deborah stay with us? Should I have done more to help her, despite her past actions? I don't want to be cruel, but I also don't want to enable her behavior or hurt my brother further. Thomas is grateful that we didn't let Deborah stay with us, but he's feeling guilty about the whole situation. He keeps saying things like, "Maybe if I had gotten her help sooner, it wouldn't have come to this." Nate is supportive of our decision, but says we should be prepared for potential backlash from Deborah. I'm not sure what to do next. Part of me wants to explain the whole situation to everyone to clear our names, but I don't want to air Thomas and Deborah's dirty laundry. Another part of me thinks we should just ignore the drama and move on, but it's hard when people are constantly messaging us or making comments about the situation. This whole situation has me questioning whether I did the right thing. I'd appreciate any advice or perspectives on how to handle this moving forward. How do we support Thomas, deal with Deborah's accusations, and manage the opinions of friends and family who don't know the whole story? Update 1. It's been a couple of weeks since my last post and things have taken an unexpected turn. I wanted to update you all on what's been happening. First, I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. It really helped me feel more confident in our decision not to let Deborah stay with us. Reading through the comments, I realized that many of you had dealt with similar situations, and it was comforting to know we weren't alone in this. A few days after my original post, Thomas came to visit us. He was still pretty shaken up about the whole situation with Deborah, but he had some news. Apparently, Deborah had reached out to him, claiming she was pregnant with his child. Thomas was freaking out, unsure of what to do. When Thomas told us about the pregnancy, I immediately felt skeptical. The timing seemed convenient, and given Deborah's past behavior, we weren't sure if we could trust her. We advised Thomas to request a paternity test before making any decisions or commitments. Thomas agreed but was still visibly stressed. He decided to stay with us for a few days to clear his head. During this time, we tried to support him as best we could, helping him research his options and offering emotional support. We looked into paternity testing procedures and tried to prepare Thomas for all possible outcomes. While Thomas was staying with us, we learned more about his relationship with Deborah. He opened up about the constant emotional manipulation he had endured. Deborah would often threaten self-harm if Thomas tried to confront her about her gambling or set boundaries. This made Thomas feel trapped and responsible for her well-being, which is why he stayed in the relationship for so long. About a week into Thomas's stay, things took another turn. Deborah showed up at our house unannounced. She was clearly upset and demanded to speak with Thomas. We were hesitant to let her in, but Thomas decided to talk to her outside. Nate and I watched from the window, ready to intervene if needed. From what Thomas told us later, Deborah admitted that she had lied about the pregnancy. She said she was desperate and thought it might bring Thomas back to her. She had even gone as far as to buy a positive pregnancy test online to show Thomas if he asked for proof. Thomas was furious and told her to leave him alone for good. After this incident, we thought things might finally calm down, but we were wrong. The next day, I received a call from my boss. Apparently, someone had sent an anonymous email to my workplace, accusing me of embezzlement and unethical behavior. The email claimed that I had been stealing company funds to support my brother's gambling addiction. I was shocked and confused. My boss assured me that they didn't believe the accusations, but they had to investigate due to company policy. It didn't take long for us to figure out that Deborah was behind this. She had escalated from social media posts to actively trying to sabotage my career. I was furious and scared. What if my company believed these lies? What if this affected my job? I've worked hard to build my career, and the thought of it being jeopardized by false accusations was terrifying. Nate suggested we file a police report for harassment, but I was hesitant. I didn't want to escalate things further, and part of me still felt sorry for Deborah, despite her actions. I kept thinking about the Deborah we first met, the one who made Thomas so happy and who had become a friend to us all. It was hard to reconcile that person with the one who was now trying to ruin our lives. Thomas felt terrible about the whole situation. He blamed himself for bringing Deborah into our lives and offered to talk to her, to try and get her to stop. We appreciated his offer, but told him it wasn't his responsibility to fix this. We were worried that any contact with Deborah would just make things worse. As all of this was happening, our parents and some family friends were still pressuring us to help Deborah. They didn't know the full story and thought we were being cruel. It was frustrating trying to defend ourselves without revealing all of Thomas's personal business. Our parents kept saying things like, "She's going through a tough time, we should help her," not realizing the extent of what Deborah had done. Nate and I decided to consult with a lawyer to understand our options. The lawyer advised us to document everything and consider getting a restraining order if Deborah's behavior continued to escalate. She also suggested we might need to consider telling our family the full story to protect ourselves from further manipulation. Now, we're in a difficult position. Do we pursue legal action against Deborah? Do we tell our family and friends the whole truth to clear our names? How do we protect ourselves and our careers from her false accusations? Thomas is feeling guilty and wants to handle Deborah himself, but we're worried that any contact with her will just make things worse. He's been having trouble sleeping and is considering taking a leave of absence from work to deal with everything. Nate is angry and wants to take immediate action, while I'm still torn between protecting ourselves and not wanting to ruin Deborah's life completely. I never thought refusing to let someone stay with us would lead to all of this drama. I'm exhausted, stressed, and unsure of what to do next. The constant worry about what Deborah might do next is taking a toll on all of us. Nate and I have been arguing more, mostly because of the stress of the situation. Thomas is withdrawing into himself, and I'm worried about his mental health. We've also started to feel the impact on our social lives. Some friends have taken Deborah's side in the situation, believing her version of events. We've had to skip social gatherings to avoid confrontations. It feels like this situation is slowly isolating us from our support network. I'm struggling to focus at work, constantly worried about the ongoing investigation. Even though my boss has been supportive, I can feel the eyes of my coworkers on me, probably wondering if there's any truth to the accusations. Any advice on how to handle this situation would be greatly appreciated. How do we protect ourselves without escalating the situation further? How do we support Thomas through this while also taking care of our own mental health? And how do we deal with the social fallout from all of this? Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and I wanted to share some significant developments in our situation with Deborah. After much deliberation, we decided to take legal action. We filed for a restraining order against Deborah, citing her harassment and false accusations. The court granted a temporary order, and we're waiting for a hearing for a permanent one. This decision wasn't easy, but after Deborah's attempt to sabotage my career, we felt it was necessary to protect ourselves. The process of filing for the restraining order was stressful. We had to compile all the evidence of Deborah's harassment, the excessive text messages, the social media posts, the false accusations sent to my workplace. Reliving all of this was emotionally draining for all of us, especially Thomas. Thomas was initially reluctant about the restraining order. He felt guilty, like he was punishing Deborah for her mental health issues. But after we showed him how her actions were affecting not just him, but our entire family, he agreed it was necessary. However, the real bombshell came a week after we filed the restraining order. Thomas received a call from Deborah's sister, Lisa. She had some shocking information to share. According to Lisa, Deborah had been struggling with severe mental health issues for years. She had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and had stopped taking her medication shortly before she started dating Thomas. Lisa had been trying to reach out to Deborah for months, but had been ignored. Lisa also revealed that Deborah had a history of similar behavior with past relationships. She would become obsessed, manipulate situations, and lash out when things didn't go her way. The gambling addiction was real, but it was intertwined with her untreated mental health issues. This information shed new light on the situation and left us all feeling conflicted. On one hand, it explained a lot of Deborah's erratic behavior. It made sense of the extreme mood swings Thomas had described, the intense fear of abandonment Deborah displayed, and her impulsive behaviors like gambling. On the other hand, it didn't excuse the harm she had caused. The stolen money, the lies, the harassment, these were still very real consequences of her actions that had affected our lives significantly. Thomas was particularly shaken by this revelation. He felt guilty for not recognizing the signs and wondered if he could have done more to help Deborah. We reassured him that it wasn't his responsibility to diagnose or fix Deborah's issues. Mental health problems can be complex and difficult to identify, especially when someone is actively hiding them. Lisa asked if we would consider dropping the restraining order if Deborah agreed to seek treatment. She argued that legal action might further destabilize Deborah's mental state and make it harder for her to get the help she needs. We were torn. While we understood the complexity of the situation now, we also felt we needed to protect ourselves. After a family meeting, including Thomas and our parents, who now knew the full story, we decided to proceed cautiously. We agreed to pause the restraining order process on the condition that Deborah enter a comprehensive mental health treatment program and agree to stay away from all of us. This decision wasn't easy. Our parents were relieved that we were considering a less adversarial approach, but they were also angry at Deborah for what she had put Thomas through. Nate was hesitant, worried that we were opening ourselves up to more manipulation. I was caught in the middle, trying to balance compassion with protecting our family. Lisa is working on convincing Deborah to accept these terms. In the meantime, we're all processing this new information and trying to figure out how to move forward. I'm still dealing with the aftermath of Deborah's false accusations at my workplace. While the investigation cleared me, there's still some tension and whispers among coworkers. Some people seem to think that there's no smoke without fire. My boss has been supportive, but I feel like I'm constantly having to prove myself. Nate has been incredibly supportive throughout all of this, attending meetings with HR and helping me document everything. Thomas is considering therapy to process everything that's happened. He's struggling with feelings of guilt and betrayal. He keeps questioning his judgment, wondering how he missed the signs of Deborah's mental health issues. We're doing our best to support him, reminding him that Deborah's actions weren't his fault. As for me, I'm feeling a mix of emotions. I'm relieved that we have an explanation for Deborah's behavior, but I'm also angry about all the stress and drama she's caused. Part of me wants to forgive and hope she gets the help she needs, while another part wants to maintain firm boundaries to protect my family. We're taking things day by day, hoping for the best but preparing for any potential setbacks. This situation has taught us a lot about mental health, boundaries, and the importance of open communication in families. The stress of the situation has taken a toll on all of us. Nate and I have been trying to support each other, but there are moments when the tension spills over into arguments. We're considering couples therapy to help us navigate this difficult time. Our social circle has been affected too. Some friends have been incredibly supportive, while others have distanced themselves from the drama. It's been eye-opening to see who stands by us during tough times. We're also dealing with the financial fallout. The legal fees for the restraining order process weren't cheap, and we're still trying to help Thomas recover from the money Deborah took. It's put a strain on our savings, but we're managing. For now, we're in a waiting period. We're waiting to see if Deborah will agree to treatment, waiting to see how Thomas continues to process everything, and waiting to see if life will ever feel normal again. I'll update again if there are any significant changes. Thank you all for your support and advice throughout this challenging time. It's been a difficult journey, but having this community to turn to has been incredibly helpful. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share how things have progressed with our situation involving Deborah. After our last update, Deborah agreed to enter a comprehensive mental health treatment program. Her sister Lisa has been keeping us informed about her progress. According to Lisa, Deborah has been sticking to her treatment plan, taking her medication regularly, and showing significant improvement. We decided to keep the restraining order in place for the first 3 months of Deborah's treatment, just to be safe. It was a difficult decision, but we felt it was necessary to protect ourselves, while also giving Deborah space to focus on her recovery. After that period, and with positive reports from her doctors, we agreed to lift it on the condition that Deborah continue her treatment and maintain distance from our family. Thomas has been doing much better. He's been seeing a therapist to work through his feelings about the relationship and its aftermath. It's been a long process, but he's starting to regain his confidence and trust in his own judgment. He's also thrown himself into his work and picked up some new hobbies. He's taken up rock climbing and has been talking about training for a marathon. It's been great to see him healing and moving forward. As for me, things at work have finally settled down. The whispers and tension have dissipated, and I've even received a promotion. My boss said my professionalism during the whole ordeal impressed upper management. Nate has been my rock throughout this entire ordeal, and our relationship has only grown stronger. The couples therapy we started during the height of the crisis has given us new tools for communication and conflict resolution. We've had some long conversations as a family about boundaries, mental health, and how to support each other in difficult times. These discussions have brought us closer together and helped us develop better communication skills. Our parents have been incredibly supportive once they understood the full situation, and they've been making an effort to check in on all of us regularly. Deborah has written letters of apology to each of us, which were forwarded through Lisa. The letters seemed sincere, acknowledging the harm she caused and expressing remorse for her actions. She took full responsibility for her behavior, explaining that while her mental health issues contributed to her actions, they didn't excuse them. While we appreciate the gesture, we've decided to maintain our distance. We wish her well in her recovery, but feel it's best for everyone if we don't have direct contact. Our parents have been supportive of our decisions throughout this process. They've apologized for pressuring us to help Deborah before they knew the full story, and have been making an effort to respect our boundaries. They've also been a great support for Thomas, often inviting him over for dinner or to watch sports together. Looking back, I still believe we made the right choice in not letting Deborah stay with us. While her mental health issues explain her behavior, they don't excuse it. We've learned the importance of setting firm boundaries even when it's difficult, and the value of trusting our instincts. This experience has taught us a lot about empathy, forgiveness, and the complexity of mental health issues. We're more aware now of the signs of mental health struggles and the importance of seeking help early. It's also shown us the strength of our family bond and the importance of standing together during tough times. Moving forward, we're focusing on healing and strengthening our family bonds. We've started a tradition of monthly family game nights, which has been a great way to relax and reconnect. We're cautiously optimistic about the future but remain prepared for any potential challenges. Financially, we're still recovering from the legal fees and helping Thomas get back on his feet, but we're making progress. We've adjusted our budget and are slowly rebuilding our savings. As for our social circle, we've seen some changes. We've grown closer to the friends who stood by us during the difficult times, and we've learned to be okay with letting go of those who weren't supportive. Thank you all for your support and advice throughout this journey. It's been a difficult road, but we've come out stronger on the other side. While we hope to never go through something like this again, we feel better equipped to handle challenges as a family. If there's one thing we've learned, it's the importance of supporting each other and seeking help when needed.